worked.
All right, well done.
Fourth time's the charm.
Yeah,
I'm going to turn it this way so you're even in the picture.
I like being in the picture.
Oh, you know what?
What?
We threw out our Harry Potter book, and now that's one moment, please. Hello, crew.
That'll work.
And now we're live. Yes, indeed.
Barbara Walker for the win.
I don't know why you're so far over there. Okay, here we are.
Shall we launch?
Please, let's do.
Good
morning.
Jinx, you owe me a Coke. This is now Bridge to a Better World is the name of this program. I'm Teresa Mitchell.
Oh, I'm Ani.
And we're in a good mood because it's been a good several days. I mean, just things keep happening. The hits keep coming. And as I was getting ready to sit down to do the this is a podcast. Isn't it?
Yeah, it's a live
If it's
stream.
video,
It's a live stream.
Vodcast?
No, it's a live stream.
Okay. The thing that we're doing now. I saw that Steve Bannon lost his appeal. Well, his first appeal anyway. I'm sure he'll appeal some more, but it is appealing to think that he could be in jail for 4 months for contempt of Congress. Stupid bastard. So now I guess he could appeal to the Supremes or I think another court. He'll probably appeal something. I mean, if you've got money and he's got money from very rich people. He's got money from thousands of suckers. And so, he'll probably appeal. But still, it's just nice to think that he lost first time around because he was very contemptuous of Congress. I mean, aren't we all for various reasons, but not in the sense of going up there and ignoring the will of the people to call him to account for, basically trying to overthrow what's left of democracy.
Well, and Bannon actually exports that shit around the world. He is one of the main proponents of authoritarian rule and goes and meets with other governments around the world to sort of back the strongmen, to sort of be a part of the authoritarian worldwide movement. So I'm personally super stoked that he's actually being held to account for this.
It's a weird thing that people get frustrated and, people get the way that they are when education is withdrawn. And so along comes a demagogue and says, oh, don't you worry, pretty little heads. We'll take care of it. Aren't you tired of being ruled by elites? We'll rule you. And we won't stab you in the back at all. Just ignore all those people with the daggers in the backs over there. And it works. It works very well. And it's frightening, and this is what we face these days. So it's nice to have some good news. Like I was also entertained by Marge Green pulling the petcocks on the. That sounds obscene. I just realized it now that I say it.
She did.
Okay, so
what?
A petcock is a valve. Very large valve that one finds in the bottom of a ship. Oh. And if you pull the petcocks, the ship will sink. And so Marge has pulled the petcocks.
So I never knew you were such an old-time mariner. Like, this is like...
she's pulled the petcocks.
Married for 29 years, and I'm learning so much. So much.
Every day is a new day. That's right. Anyway, so if I may return to my maritime metaphor.
Yes, please.
Marge Green has pulled the petcocks on the USS QAnon because the idiot, couldn't see what was coming and stood up and used her little, her tiny caucus within a caucus set up rules that they could get rid of the speaker anytime they wanted. So she got mad at Mike Johnson for not being obedient to her, basically. And her big thing is to be obedient to Trump. And there's there's a couple dozen Republicans who've held up everything, even more than the Republicans would have held up things. She's held up things within the Republican...
The Freedom Caucus.
Yeah, the Republican contingent. Trying to, bend things her way, which they won't do, and they're really getting tired of her. They're getting sick of her. And so Mike Johnson and some other Republicans made a deal. And the Democrats said, yeah, okay, we'll sink Marge Green. And that's exactly what has happened. So her motion to replace Johnson was defeated something like 350 something to 47. Slam bam. The great thing about it is it's the end of seeing Marge Green all the time, because the reason she was on the cameras is she had the power to stop everything in Congress, and now she doesn't. Now it's not all that great, because the thing that they passed was, lubricating the wheels of the imperial machine.
I was going to say, and to me, what's fascinating about this, sorry to jump in and interrupt, but I'm going to do that. The thing that's fascinating about this is that, yeah, she is ultimately very loyal to Trump. She takes her marching orders from Trump by and large, and so does Mike Johnson.
Yeah.
And so what I'm wondering is, are we seeing now infighting amongst the far right wing of the Republican Party?
Indeed, we are.
And that makes me happy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Trump wanted to bollocks up the imperial machine and everything else, so everything looked as bad as possible, including the border, of course, which is a big thing. So that he can get elected on the basis of, let me come in and save you since nothing works. And that's an old Republican trick. He's just exaggerating it a bit. He's just cranking it a little bit higher. The old, we fucked up the government so it doesn't work. So elect us so we can fix things. So I was happy to
remember,
see that.
Trump was actually the person who did not want the absolutely wretched border reform to actually pass, because he wants there to be a constant manufactured crisis. And so I think that it is a promising sign to see the infighting on the far right. That said, now we still have the problem of Mike Johnson being the Speaker of the House. And that is actually a very large problem, because what did he do? He went back and immediately started working on denying the people the right to vote legislation as soon as his speakership was saved.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that is that, of course, is in service to Trump and the Republicans. But Trump came out yesterday and said, vote any way you can, vote by mail. It's all good, despite his assertion and insistence that, vote by mail causes fraud.
Well, so I think, again, what we're seeing is sort of an unraveling, right? That we're seeing not a clear plan. We're seeing Trump not unusually talking out of all sides of his very tiny little mouth. What we're seeing also then is this disarray. Is vote by mail fraud? Should everyone engage? And so there's not like that one clear plan being driven by the authoritarian strongman. In fact, what there is utter fucking chaos.
The Schadenfreude is good this week. The problem is, if you spread bullshit everywhere, you might slip on it now and then. And Kristi Noem, of course, this week revealed that she had shot.
She didn't just slip in it, man. She head dove.
She had shot her 14-month-old puppy, and then apparently went on a rampage and shot an old goat too, and insists over and over again that this is just the way it is in the Wild West, and you just have to shoot. I mean, it's so stupid. Anyone can see through it. I've been close enough to ranching to know that, if your puppy, in the first place, you don't take your 14-month-old puppy around without a leash if it's not well-trained. Also, if you want a well-trained dog, you don't turn to the 14-month-old puppy. You keep it a little longer. You train it. After a while, it's, very reliable, and then you can take it out and do your stuff with it. And she was obviously being an idiot with her young dog, and then she took it out on the dog, which is just nasty. And then she doubles down.
Very on brand.
Yeah. So this is not convincing even to ranchers.
Yeah. And for her to try to pass it off as the criticism against her is just because people are out of touch with ranching, and it's the coastal elites that are against puppy murder.
Yeah.
Where people in the heartland understand that you just got to kill a puppy now and then.
Yeah, let's you and me go ranching, Kristi. I'll take half your acreage, thanks. And I'll be kind to my dogs, and you shoot them at the first error, and we'll see who ranches better. Anyway, R F and K.
What? Okay, we'll go right on ahead.
I'm just saying, she's no rancher.
She is no rancher. It's true.
RFK revealed that he has a brainworm, and and the brainworm's dead. And the reason we know this, and I guess y'all all know this too, is that it was revealed in divorce papers. But now he says that, well, he's recovered from it. And the problem is, this is not scientific. But the man has a very palsy defect, and I don't want to mock it because it could happen to me tomorrow. But he has a very palsy defect, and he's talking about how he's recovered from a brainworm. That's not going to work.
Well, not to mention his general outlook, ivermectin, anti-vax.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to say, oh, finally, the brainworm. That explains it.
Ironically, if he'd taken ivermectin 20 years ago, I could have killed that worm anyway, or just not eaten raw pork.
Or too much fish, or whatever the hell that was about.
Yeah.
But let's just say, wow.
And he came across as an idiot from the get-go, and I thought, well, here's someone who presents himself as the new shining hero in the same way that Trump does. He's an idiot the way Trump is. He's going to take Trump votes. This has been determined by the polls eventually. And so I don't know how I feel about the fact that he's revealed his brainworm. But in any event, he's out of the picture. And so we've got Trump versus Biden. Yep.
We've always had Trump versus Biden.
Oh, boy.
But with a little bit of a spoiler
for Trump, actually.
Yeah.
And actually, maybe he'll still take some Trump votes, worm and all.
Well, maybe there's a worm block. Have you thought about the worm voting block?
Well, you would think they'd be anti-worm with all that ivermectin in them. But anyway, that's using humor and logic, which doesn't apply to QAnon types. And but the hits just kept coming. Stormy Daniels took the stand, and we knew this was going to be good because she's a smart woman. She's been able to, build up an empire of her personality and her, sex abilities, and, between the porn tapes and apparently she also did psychic readings, and so they tried to mock her for that. They said, "Did you know she talks to the dead?" And of course, this doesn't apply very well to me and talks to the dead over there. So, but
Honey, talks to the dead. Haynes.
So that seemed like a dud, but when she took the stand, she just so effectively mocked him. They tried to make her out to be this, well, they slut shamed her, and they tried to catch her on contradictions, and she was just too fast for them, way too fast for them. And one of my favorite lines was her saying to the effect that they're saying that, well, you've written a lot of sex scenes for your porn videos, and so how do we know this isn't just another fantasy of yours? And she responds, well, if I had written that scenario, it would have been a lot more interesting than what actually went down. And what she described what went down was kind of like, it was sad. I mean, geez, he was blocking her way, and he's like, we're going to have sex, not dinner. Haha, I got you. And yuck. And so she thought of the queen and got through it. This is not a good porn scenario. I agree. And then both she and her lawyers are, known for referring to him as the orange turd. And she had said no one would want to be known for having sex with the orange turd. And I just think it's funny to think of, well, Trump sitting there in court and having to listen to this stuff and not being able to say anything about it. It's pretty great. Schadenfreude week, as I was saying. So then, to make things even better than that, Biden came out and pulled the brakes on the 2,000-pound bomb train. Israel now is saying that since they're not getting guidance fins for their remaining 2,000-pound bombs, then they threaten, well, we'll just have to use dumb bombs. But there isn't any such thing as a surgical strike with a 2,000-pound bomb, and it really doesn't matter a hell of a lot if they have guidance fins on those, murder weapons or not. They are still pretending that they're defending themselves while saying that these are the people of Amalek who God gave them a dispensation to exterminate. And they're on a process of extermination. And so I guess it's not going to stop.
When you say extermination, you mean genocide.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Genocide. And genocide doesn't have to be complete extermination for the word to apply. They are on a process of genocide, and that word Amalek is in the mouth of Netanyahu and all the soldiers, and it's an ugly scene. So it was nice to see at least some effect. And some say that Jill Biden is the one who convinced Joe Biden to say, we aren't going to send you any more bombs unless you promise not to kill the last remaining people in Gaza, which is basically what they're up to. And they're saying, oh no, we are going to kill everyone. So it's a horrible thing to see. But
so just to sort of go in there for a minute, at this point, the Israelis have been attacking Rafah and have blocked the passage for folks trying to send in aid, and the situation is growing ever more dire. I just wanted to you mentioned that it doesn't mean the wholesale extermination of a people, but again, it is meeting all of the hallmarks. When you displace a population, when you starve a population, when you have collateral damage and kill large civilian when you kill civilians on a whole large scale because of their ethnicity or religion. These are all part of the definition of genocide. And so that is absolutely and irrefutably happening. That's been backed up by philosophers, authors, and the World Court. And so to finally see Biden move from "we back them whatever" to "oh, there's actually some lines here, and we're not going to arm you to kill civilian populations." That was a huge shift for Biden. It's not enough of a shift. I want more shifting, but that's kind of huge and an entirely different statement being sent from him than it was a month ago. And I'm going to credit student protests. He can talk all he wants to about how that's not, going to help anything. That's not changing anyone's mind. Property, or you're breaking the law, and that's not a legitimate form of bullshit, right? And so the pressure has been on. It continues to be on. I think it has been said by folks other than myself, when you're on the other side of student protests, history tends to take a pretty grim view.
Funny that.
Right. And so and I think there's also that thing called the election, right? Where we are seeing tens of thousands of people, Democrats, registered Democrats, going to the polls in the primaries here and voting non-committed based on his support of the genocide so far, or his inability to admit that there is a genocide happening. And so I'm really heartened by this. He needs to move faster. He needs to come out stronger. But that I've seen any movement, frankly, surprises me, and I'm for it. So this is the time again. Call your Congress critters. Call the White House. Make a noise. Be strong for human rights, and be strong to stop this genocide of the Palestinian people. The fact that we are witnessing a genocide in real time, live streamed to us, is so unthinkable, right? And yet here we are. And so it is way past time to speak up as loud as we can and to stop this horror.
From your lips to God's ears. Well, yeah, I mean, that's too little too late, but it's
not quite too, greater if it's earlier, but let's stop it now. Speaking of stopping it,
maybe we can stop the Israelis from continuing with this nonsense at all.
But so speaking of stopping it, can I?
Please.
There's a reporter who has just been on the ground doing amazing work in Gaza. Her name is Bisan Oda. And the journalist has now been awarded the Peabody for her awards documenting Israel's ceaseless attacks on the Palestinian people in Gaza. on the civilian population, killing well over 34,000 people. And that is really quite the undercount. There's so many people who have been left unaccounted for, who are missing, but at least 34,000 people. And that includes more than 14,000 children who have been killed since October in Israel's ceaseless bloody genocide. Oda once was a young woman who just produced cultural videos for YouTube. She, was just sort of sharing Palestinian culture. And since the as a YouTuber, and since the genocide started, she shifted her focus and has been reporting daily from the occupied territory. Her reports opened with her now famous words, "It's Beeson from Gaza, and I'm still alive." And many of us were sort of looking for her dispatches to connect with her and the struggle, and to see that in fact she's lived another day. This beautiful, strong voice for independence and human rights. Her reports are totally gritty. She brings to life the horrors that are happening all around her, from the lack of food, from the lack of clean water, sanitation, shelters, to the actual bombings that are raining down death daily in the region. Those bombs that are destroying institutions like, oh, uh, universities. So if some windows got smashed, if some tables got overturned, if some buildings got a little damaged here in some student protests, universities in Gaza have been razed to the ground, right? So again, looking at the actual harm being done, uh, it's so important to keep a perspective. So in her first report, she documented the makeshift tent encampment at Oda as she was living in the Al Shifa hospital. Um, Let me try that sentence again. In her first video, she was reporting from the Al Shifa hospital, uh, and she was living in the makeshift tent encampment there after fleeing her home in Bet Hunan with her family. This week, Save the Children International featured her reporting on Israel's takeover of Rafah, the Rafah crossing on the Egypt-Gaza border, as it invaded the city of Rafah this week. In that video, she said, "No people can evacuate to a safe place. No humanitarian trucks can enter. I'm in the middle of Rafah, and these people behind me are trying to gather their stuff, their mattresses, and some food. And they're taking now their stuff again to be displaced again after living here for months." In accepting the Peabody, Oda said that the victory of the Palestinian cause was never just for Palestinians, it is rather a victory for all of humanity. She dedicated the award to people around the world who, she said, are helping to defeat the occupation and genocide. She said, "I dedicate this award to all of the college students who are protesting, to all of the people who took to the streets, and to the people at home who are participating in boycotts, to all of the people worldwide, regardless of their religion, their color, or their ethnicity, regardless of what makes them different. They're united in one mission and in their demands for a free Palestine. You deserve this award, and so do we."
So how do you get her reports? What service is she?
It's AJ. It's a sort of a side stream of Al Jazeera,
Okay. All right.
and you can search for Bisa. You can search for Beeson Oda, and you will find her reports. Beeson, Bisan, Oda, Owda. So there's that. And I just wanted to say, I find it, as we are talking about good news and good news in the face of genocide, genocide is a horror, but I am so heartened again that the global rise up to say no, not now, not here, no. to the college campus throughout the U.S., also spreading into Europe, to have such a strong voice and an outcry, and this very independent on the streets reporter Beeson Ada, awarded the Peabody, brings light to the struggle. And to see now Biden backing off and saying, well, there are lines getting crossed, and we might not supply you with uh, weapons of mass destruction, right? That's hopeful. And I want to really hang on to that hope and use it to invigorate the struggle. Let us call all of our representatives and let us raise our voices as loudly as we can. Let us think of brilliant creative actions, and let's stop this genocide.
Right on.
What else might you have?
Well, I just want to return to the theme that actually there have been encouraging things this week, and I've, actually, in terms of Schadenfreude, I enjoyed the trial. I watched that pretty much every day while that was going on, and I certainly hope that it brings down Trumpism. We shall see. It'll take a lot more than that.
Well, he's certainly not getting the crowds that he is begging to come to New York.
Yes,
and that I'm finding, again, hopeful, right?
Well, he's credible in terms of his stochastic terrorism, because, and I think the judge should come down on him harder, because when he characterizes people badly and draws attention to them, he knows that his vast and distributed militia is likely to attack them in one way or another, and often with guns. So, or send them powder which they wish was ricin or something. The terror will happen, and so he's not just sounding off. And it's not First Amendment speech. Threats were never free speech in any society. So I wish the judge would come down on him harder, and maybe he will. Who knows? This is going on today too, so maybe he'll shoot off his mouth and get jailed. I would love to see that.
So one more thing happened this week. I'm going to go ahead and mention, you are watching This Is Now, Bridge to a Better World. Please do hit the like button. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. We would love to have you share this video and let folks know that we exist. A couple of genderqueer, anarcho-crommy folks in the beautiful Pacific Northwest, giving you our take on the news and community, as well as a little magic and tarot, which is going to be happening here in just a moment.
Go Reds, smash state.
Indeed. So let's see what else. There's climate news from Michigan.
Lay it on me.
So this is, again, something I am really excited about. In a move that demands accountability from fossil fuel industry giants, the Michigan Attorney General has announced that the department is seeking proposals from attorneys and law firms who want to serve as special assistant attorneys general in her plans to take on the fossil fuel industry and hold them to account for impacts that climate change is having on the state of Michigan and the world. Dana Nessel is the Attorney General in Michigan, and she explained that her action is being driven by the already observable impact of climate change. She said that warmer temperatures are shrinking the ski seasons in the UP and have disrupted the wonderful blooms of Holland's Tulip Time Festival. That's right, Holland, Michigan, an amazing tulip festival that happens every year, is being damaged as all of our gardens and crops, agricultural and beautifying, are being disrupted by an unstable climate, right? So back to her quote. It's disrupting the wonderful blooms of the Holland Tulip Time Festival. Severe weather events are on the rise, and these impacts threaten not only our way of life, but also our economy, and pose long-term risks to Michigan's thriving agribusiness. The fossil fuel industry, despite knowing about these consequences, prioritize profits over people and the environment. She continued to say, pursuing this litigation will allow us to recoup our costs and hold those responsible for jeopardizing Michigan's economy and future, economic future, and way of life accountable. Michigan is joining California, Connecticut, Delaware, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Jersey, Rhode Island, and Vermont, as well as the District of Columbia and dozens of municipalities who have already filed climate liability lawsuits against big oil in recent years. And I think that that is one very important uh, plank in getting climate change addressed, in holding those that have been profiting from killing the planet uh, into account. To do it economically, that's great. To stop them, that is the thing. To
Yeah.
stop the harm.
Yeah, it's attention and effort directed in the right direction. I think will direct more eyes and ideas because people have been trained to be very passive and say, "Oh well, there's nothing we can do. What can we do? We're just riding this train." Well, no, let's go talk to the conductor and stop it. Let's talk to big oil. Actually, let's seize big oil and lawsuits, many lawsuits. This is at least the second, and I think there's several worldwide. Will draw attention to who is doing this to us, and I could
there
go
have
on
been 8
about
states already who have done something like this. So it's a movement.
yeah. This reminds me of Arlo Guthrie. So good then. I mean, this is a good direction and needs to speed up because climate change sure is.
That's for sure. But that said, it is here we are in the first week of May. I guess actually we have just hit into the second week of May, and so are we pivoting?
I guess so. Yeah. My last comment I wanted to be that apparently a coronal mass ejection has hit the magnetosphere like a gong, and there's a possibility of northern lights tonight visible from Oregon. I know that's been said many times, and I don't know what the chances are. Maybe they're not all that good, but there is some chance, and it is clear tonight locally. So maybe we can look to the north and see. That would be so cool. I've never seen them.
It is, in fact, something I have always really, really wanted.
Bucket list.
Yeah, so I'm hopeful that that we will be able to see northern lights tonight. So if you're in the area, do look north, see if you can get to a darker area, and see if, in fact, we will be blessed with the northern lights. Okay. So I hope everyone has had a wonderful May Day. I feel quite exuberant as we head into summer. And I do think that this is a time to really embrace our joy. And I have to say, there's been some interestingly good and hopeful news that is allowing me to embrace that joy a little bit more. And so I hope that things are going well for you. I hope that you are also giving yourself over to some pleasure and some joy, because we need to really take that in. That's how we sustain ourselves, right? My old cohort, Melody Silverwolf, used to say, if it's not fun, it's not sustainable. And when we're talking about things like fighting fascism, stopping the war against women, stopping the genocide in Gaza, looking at climate change and trying to restore human rights around the world, it's hard. It's hard in those moments to say, and we got to have fun. Because fun almost seems trivial, and yet it's not, right? Pleasure is our birthright. It is so important that we are able to actually remember why it is good to be alive, to take in joy, to take in exuberance, and to know that we are here for each other, we support each other, and we are open to giving and receiving love. That is the highest state of being human, being alive, and being on this planet with each other, creating good community. And so as we move into summer, let us take that exuberance with us. Let us love each other and lift each other up. And I have these tarot cards. These tarot cards are the Magician, it's inversed, the Four of Wands, and the Moon. And what does this all mean? Well, um, it is really a call to look at doing what you need to do to give yourself a really solid, lovely base, right? What do you need to do to strengthen your hearth and home? What do you need to do to make sure that your living situation, that your home, that your community is as supportive as it can be? What do you need to support to make that so? Right? From the physical to the metaphysical and the emotional, all of it. How can we strengthen the ties of family? How can we make our communities stronger and more stable? How can we how can we flourish in our homes? One of the ways that we do that is by making sure that we are balancing and able to access our whole selves, that we're staying grounded, that we are grounded in our truths and grounded in our own sense of self, so that we cannot be swayed, we can't be manipulated, and we have access to our intellectual selves, that we can see problems clearly and analyze them to find the roots and the solutions. That we have access to our emotional, heart-centered selves, so that we can, in fact, feel it, feel the love and the support, that we can also feel the pain, that we can weep when we need to weep, that we can express anger when we're angry, and that we know joy, that we can love, and that we can support each other. We also need to have access to our willpower, right? To direct our action, to make our action strong, and to pay attention to that sort of gut intuition. When we feel like something's going wrong, know that it is, and sort of put the brakes on for a minute and check it out. What needs to be adjusted? What needs to be put aside? What needs to be gotten rid of? What needs to be embraced and brought in? Our intuition, our gut feelings can help us find that way. And we have to take care of our bodies, right? And take care of our resources, take care of our physical communities too. And of course, always staying connected to spirit, staying connected to the sense of source, the universe, the life force, God, goddess, whatever, however we see that, it's our source. When we're in balance, we can do great things, but we have to bring things into balance first. So we have to sort of stabilize ourselves and stabilize our communities. And one of the main tools that we have for that is, again, letting our intuition really pull us through, recognizing the cycles in all things. Oh, look at that. There's a little Teresa block right there. It's like, yep, yep, that's what we're doing. Um, so it's really it's about letting our deepest intuition uh, inform us, and also to really remember to have it in our bones that things are cyclical, just as the moon waxes and wanes, just as our lives, go in these cycles from birth to death to rebirth. All of these cycles are around us. And I think that's also true of the political cycles, the philosophical circles and cycles, all of it, right? And so it's being aware of the cycles so that we can kind of, firmly root ourselves, and again using that intuition to pull us through. um, right, I think that's what the cards say. And I am very thankful that you have joined us for this live stream, whenever you see it. Perhaps it's not live while you are seeing it. Thank you for watching it. And please do hit that like button and share this video with your friends and family.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. I see John mentions Ukraine. Here's hoping that they get what they need to push the Russians back. And isn't it pitiful that we have the scene of someone creating a blitz on innocent people just for the sake of his delusions of grandeur? But that's moving forward too, so we can add that to the list of good things.
Yes,
It's been a good week, and it's lovely to have us together, to have you join us. So I'm ready to go. Shall we?
let's do it. Thank you all so very much for joining us. I want to mention, for those of you that are interested in really sort of using the moon to guide us, I'm going to start a new moon circle. It's going to be a continuous thing that you can drop into each and every month if you would like to. It'll be available on Zoom, and I'll have details for you about that next week. And so if you would like to, I can talk a little bit more next week about why that's an important thing, so that we can in fact create this world together and create our lives in an intentional way. So new moon circle starting up. It'll meet the day before the new moon, and it will happen monthly for as long as we have energy to sustain it. So more details on that coming up next week, and I really hope that you'll consider joining us.
All right, your local neighborhood witch, available to you. Okay, thanks for joining us. See you next week.
Cheers.
Our love goes out to you and to all the ships at sea.
We love you.
Bye.